Welcome to Clearing the Air, where we cut through the smog of climate confusion with fresh talk and clean answers. I'm your host, Scott Redfern. Climate change also often seems really overwhelming for one person to have any type of an impact, but today we're going to explore how one ride and one relationship has changed that narrative. We'll dive into how one person's passion for cycling turned into an inspiring annual fundraiser and discuss the ways that someone's actions can ripple outward and have real impact. I'm here with my friend Dennis Damaris, who is a cycling nut as well as a climate activist, and my friend Sam Dynowski, who is the state director of Sierra Club's Connecticut chapter. Welcome, Dennis and Sam.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Scott.
much.
Dennis, let's start with you. I want to get into, because I know you've been doing this for a long time, I want to get into the history of this, but let's start with your ride this year. Tell me a little bit about what you're going to be doing.
Sorry, I kept ignoring you. This September, I will be embarking on my 16th climate ride. It will start in West Virginia. Over 7 days, I'll be doing 1,000 miles, or I'll be riding my bicycle for 1,000 miles. We'll be passing through a couple of national parks. My wife will be joining me this time for the first time as a support person. But next week is our 25th wedding anniversary. So, in honor of that and celebrating that, at the end of each of my rides every day, we'll be doing a 25-mile additional bonus ride on the tandem bicycle.
How'd you talk her into
Most,
doing that?
believe it or not, she came up with the idea last year at the end of the 15th climate ride, partly because Sam and several other Sierra Club members came up to the finish line at a big celebration. And I think my wife may have had a drink and then said, "This is great. I want to do it too."
Well, that's a great way to get someone hooked into it. I'll tell you, Dennis, riding 40 miles in a day for me sometimes on my bike is a killer. How in the world do you prepare for a ride like this where you're doing 1,000 miles, actually more than 1,000 miles, because you're doing 25 miles afterwards every day in a single week?
I love riding my bike, so I ride a lot. I also compete in endurance races as well. So I do have to prepare for the ride in the sense that I'm always prepared to do big rides. The preparation for me, though, is less about the riding. It's more about all of the logistics that's required to do one of these events. Like I said, this year my wife is going to join me for support, but in many years past, I'm doing it as a solo rider, and to be prepared ahead of time requires a lot of preparation, planning. So when it comes to special preparation for the event, yes, I ride my bike, but preparing for the all that I will experience on that ride, that's more challenging for me.
So it's 7 days, and at the end of each day, you have to have a place to go, you have to recover, you have to eat during the day. Do you plan all of that out ahead of time and script it like day by day?
It's all scripted. I also have a full-time job, so I can't ride my bike indefinitely. So I have the time that I've allotted. So ahead of time, I'm figuring out what the lodging will be. I do need to make sure over at least every 2 or 3 hours there's some place to refuel, a convenience store usually. So um, yes, it's all scripted out, and that does add some pressure to the ride. There will be a flat tire along the way. There will be some bad weather along the way, but I need to finish that day's ride because my lodging is at the end, and there's no unexpected days off that I can insert throughout the ride.
So as you're doing this, you're doing 100 100 miles a day, 150 miles
About
a day?
between 140 and 150. Yeah.
How do you stay motivated throughout the day? Because you're pretty much riding alone in a lot of this, right?
Well, last year I had a friend join me for a bit of the ride. Actually, I had another friend join me for uh, part of a different day as well. But most of the ride is by myself. In terms of motivation, I'm doing this not just because I love riding my bicycles. I'm doing this because I'm trying to raise money for the Sierra Club to help with all that they do and for a cleaner, greener future. So knowing all of these people have donated to support my ride, that's a big part of the motivation each morning when I'm getting up and sore and have to figure out how I'm going to do another 145 miles today. It's in a recognition of all the support that folks have made and the impact that the Sierra Club has that keeps me motivated. But also, uh, 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 an additional bit of motivation is people can follow me on social media. I do get text messages, I get social media messages, those little notes along the way. And I think both of you last year sent some texts throughout my ride. Those make a difference, especially when you're going through a low point.
Those donors are kind of the wind at your back, as you might say, while you're out there riding. So what's your fundraising goal for this year?
This year, it's my 16th year doing this, so I've set the bar at $16,000. Yesterday, I believe, I received a donation to bring the total so far to $12,000. So between now and September, I'm hoping to increase my impact and get that last $4,000 at least for donations.
It's fantastic progress so far, but a good ways to go still.
Yes, I'm confident I'll get there, but still a lot of outreach I need to do.
So tell me a little more about that. It's hard enough to train for the ride and then do all the logistics of actually making the ride happen. How do you also go about the other part, which is fundraising? Fundraising. I mean, $16,000 is no small amount of money to raise for a ride like this.
Um, it is good at this point. At this stage, I'm doing this for the 16th time. I have uh, dozens of people who are very consistent every year, very generous every year, and people I believe who want to make an impact. So I do have a good base that more or less want to support me every year. On top, so I don't want to ever take that for granted. I obviously will ask them, obviously thank them afterwards. But that's a good part of my fundraising is that steady base. But every year I try to find different ways of um, bringing awareness. Last year I was able to get on a television show for an interview. This year, I'm doing my first ever podcast. So I tried different ways of getting the details out about the ride. And every year, I try to find one new way to get the message out.
I think I remember that show that you were on last year, or at least the information about it. So tell me, why have you chosen Sierra Club's Connecticut chapter for the recipient of your fundraising?
I have been a member and a volunteer for quite some time. Back in my mid 20s, I think is when I first joined. It's an organization that
When you were in
is,
your 20s?
yes.
That's a long
So
time ago.
I am half my life at this point. So yes, they are an organization that has been the recipient of all of my fundraising for the majority of my time doing the climate ride. They are an organization fighting for a cleaner and greener future. They also value the outdoors, getting people outdoors. All of that is a major part of who I am, and it's the organization that I think is best aligned with my goals in life.
So, Sam, let's talk about Sierra a little bit. I'm inspired by Sierra Club and the things that you all do here in Connecticut, like working on environmental justice and helping to drive clean energy and waste reduction and environmental protection. But I also think it's cool that as large of an organization as Sierra Club is across the country and here in Connecticut, that on your main page, you've got a picture of Dennis doing fundraising. So tell me a little bit about how Sierra Club first heard about Dennis doing these rides and you all being the recipient of what money he's raising.
Yeah, so I was not with Sierra Club when Dennis did his first ride. So uh, that predates me by a few years. So I can't speak firsthand about what the chapter thought, but I can imagine they were thrilled as we continue to be. Um, because it's like Dennis really puts his everything into this. This is not just a fundraiser. This is like a physical and psychological feat. Um, and it's often a harrowing ride with weather and extreme weather at some times along the way. And so, we're just so grateful to be the recipient of the funds, but also for everything Dennis does, not just puts into this ride, but he's a key leader in our chapter, helping on our communications. Every email that goes out, Dennis has his hands on at the chapter.
How do you engage with Dennis during his ride and while it's being planned?
Well,
Or
Dennis
maybe
really
open that up to both of you.
yeah.
How do you two both engage as this is being planned and executed?
Yeah, I'd say Dennis is the mastermind of this whole thing. We are not engaging in the planning, but always excited to hear what he's dreamt up for the year because it's always different and interesting. And as he noted, he has a pretty extensive network that he does outreach to. But, we have our network as a chapter and we help amplify what he's doing as a chapter in our newsletter, in our social media, and with our leadership team.
Yeah, so in Sam helped to organize last year's finish line celebration. That was a big uh, moment last year, and it's something I'll never forget.
Well, you don't often finish close enough to Connecticut for us to celebrate, and that was exciting. So you finished off in Massachusetts, but close enough to Connecticut that folks could come. This year, I don't think we'll have that opportunity, but it's fun to be able to either send you off or cheer you on to the finish.
Cheer him on from afar. Sam, are there other supporters that do fundraisers like this for Sierra Club?
Yeah, so um, most folks who know Sierra Club think of the large national organization that we are, one of the oldest and largest in the United States. And what you might not know is that every chapter is responsible for our own work within our geographic area and our own budget. So we, raise money to help support the work we're doing here in Connecticut. And we have lots of individual donors here in Connecticut who donate. We have supporters who host house parties. We have folks who provide matching funds for fundraisers. We have events with sponsors, but we don't have anyone else fundraising the way Dennis does. It's the Climate Ride is one of our biggest donations of the year, and like I said, it's not just a fundraiser. It is really, um, Dennis puts everything into it.
It's a labor of love, definitely. You can't do something like this without loving what you do and being passionate about what you're raising for. Sam, if someone is inspired by what Dennis is doing here and wants to do their own crazy fundraiser for the Connecticut chapter, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, that would be great. Reach out to me at the Connecticut chapter. I think one of the things that makes Sierra Club so special is that we are a club. We're made up of people, and we want people to bring their ideas and their skills and their talents to make a difference. We aren't a kind of research outfit. We are people getting mobilized and educated and doing things together. And so if folks have a fundraising idea or a idea on how to address climate in Connecticut, we want you involved. So I'd encourage folks to reach out.
There you go.
I just
Another
want
way that individuals can actually have a real impact on climate change, where it seems so daunting some days, especially the climate for climate change nowadays. It so feels so hostile.
Scott, if you don't mind, I just want to add to
Sure.
Sam's response. Um, what I am doing is an independent challenge, but as part of a larger organization called the Climate Ride. The Climate Ride is a charitable organization that organizes different events for raising money for sustainable organizations like the Sierra Club. So while I'm doing this as an individual here, and my beneficiary is the Sierra Club, if someone does want to cycle for a more sustainable, cleaner, and greener future, you can visit theclimateride.org and you can find out how you could join one of their organized rides.
Yeah, and even with those organized rides, if I'm not mistaken, you can direct what you raise to the organization of your choice. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And I do know that you can do other things other than a ride. If riding isn't your thing, you can do a climate run or a climate hike.
Correct. Yep. They have lots of options.
Lots of cool options and lots of cool ways to either do your own or, like you said, if you don't want to organize it yourself, you can do one that's already organized for you.
Yep.
So this has been going on for 16 years. Let's look back a little bit, Dennis. How did you get started with this?
I saw an article in Adventure Magazine or Adventure Cyclist, I think was the name of the magazine, um, advertising the Climate Ride probably 17 years ago. I had always uh, been looking for ways to tie my cycling to something bigger. And when I saw that, I said, well, that's the ride for me. So I signed up. I did the first one as part of an organized ride. It was from New York City to Washington, D.C., and never looked back. Have been doing a climate ride every year since then.
Wow. And the first one didn't drive you away. That's pretty amazing. What does your family think about these crazy rides, especially now that you're planning and organizing them every year?
At this at this point, they know this is a part of who I am. So um, I think the crazy factor has diminished in their eyes. But they, like I said, they know how important this is to me. They also want to contribute to a cleaner and greener future. In fact, my daughter this summer is interning with the Sierra Club as
Oh,
well.
wow.
So they all, both of my daughters and my wife want to make a difference, and they do what they can to support me.
And maybe the crazy factor is an endearing part of dad as well.
That's I hope that's how they view it.
And since this is your 16th year, you've probably had some pretty interesting experiences along the way that have just reinforced the need for a crusade like this. Let's talk about some of those. Tell me about some of the coolest experiences that you've had out there on the road.
Uh, I have had some cool experiences. I was more prepared to talk about the uh, uh, dangerous experiences or the horrible experiences because that's what I most remember every year. But in terms of
They all tend to stick
coolest,
in your minds pretty
yes,
much. We'll get to that though.
in terms of coolest, I would have to say going back to the organized climate rides, they generally do them in beautiful parts of the world. And the last organized ride I partook in was through Glacier National Park and Waterton National Park, and it's one of the most beautiful parts of the world I've ever visited. So, and mountainous terrain, it had everything for me out there. It was absolutely amazing.
That is cool. That's a beautiful area to hike. I'm sure it was amazing to ride as well. So, how about those horror stories that maybe now you can look back on and laugh, but not so much back then?
So there are so many. One that stood out for me, one that stands out for me was 3 or 4 years ago. I was coming back home from time that I spent in Maine. I was riding through New Hampshire, and all summer it had been a drought, no rain for over a month. But all of a sudden, and this was summertime, a big rainstorm. It was a nor'easter came through, dropped the temperatures into the 50s, downpouring all day long. And I have electronic shifters on my bike, and uh, the electronics, unfortunately, had been exposed to the rain, so they shorted, and I couldn't shift anymore. So I had to finish riding that day through Maine and through New Hampshire, and as you know, it's a very mountainous state, without being able to shift. So on
Oof.
the plus side, I was able to generate the body heat to overcome the cold rain, but that was brutal riding without being able to shift through the New Hampshire mountains.
If something can go wrong, it will.
Yes, and I will say, every year I count on some things going wrong because it helps with fundraising. There's a correlation between donations and sympathy when I go through these challenges.
So, over the 16 years, do you know how much money you've actually raised over the course of those 16 years?
Yep. The first few years when I was getting into this, I would do whatever the minimum was for fundraising. So it was maybe $1,500 or $2,000. So I got off to a slow start. But now, especially as I've raised the bar each year, my independent challenges, in total, entering this year, I've raised over $135,000. So once I hit my goal for this year, it would be over 150,000.
Holy cow, that's amazing.
It
That's
sure
really
is.
amazing for having raised that much money yourself.
What's amazing is getting so many people to support me over the years.
Hmm. So let's look at it from this way. These fundraisers fuel a climate mission. Sam, are I know this money doesn't go directed towards a specific program within Sierra, but what does fundraising like this do in order to support Sierra Club's mission?
Yeah, so I think about the climate work we have to do, and there's so many aspects to it. As a chapter, we really focus on stopping bad stuff. So making sure we're not adding to our climate problem with new or expanded gas pipelines or power plants, and then bringing the good stuff to Connecticut, transitioning to clean energy, solar, wind, battery, heat pumps. So our work really is understanding the opportunities that we have to either fight something or get something enacted, implemented, improved, translating that to our 30,000 members and supporters and activating them to put pressure on the decision makers on any one of those things. And so the fundraising directly helps us to be able to do that and to make that happen. And I'm excited about the work we do. I think in the last few years, we've been able to help elevate the issue of several new power plants proposed in Connecticut, which we fought and we won. They're not going to be built. We're now facing pressure to build new gas pipelines in Connecticut, and we are at every turn finding out the opportunities to have public engagement, asking for hearings, pushing for hearings, bringing folks to the table so that the decision makers hear from lots of people and they hear substance that can reject these proposals. And that's what it takes. Like that's kind of our MO for fighting back things is, as a staff, we watch for these opportunities, but it is our members who show up once we've been able to alert them and tell them what the opportunities are.
With all the things going on out there and the negative climate that you have to work in around climate change, how do you both stay hopeful and engaged right now without burning out?
I'd say for me, it's really the people. Like we know what the problem is and we know what the solutions are. Um, so to me, it's pretty simple. The decisions just have to be the right ones. But the people in the climate movement are so passionate and knowledgeable, and everyone brings something different to the table. And so the community is just amazing. Um, we're able to do so many different and exciting things. Something that happened that we leaned on Dennis for in the last month was that in the fight against gas pipelines, some of our organizers wanted to do a bike ride to raise awareness and stop at several of the proposed projects and highlight them. And they brought this proposal before me, and I said, I think you should chat with Dennis. And they did, and he was there kind of pulling them along and giving them advice because they were not all long distance bike riders who knew how to pull off something like this.
They had a pro, or you had a pro on your staff that, or in your team that they didn't realize they had. So how about you, Dennis?
Uh, in terms of remaining hopeful or
Yeah.
avoiding feeling hopelessness, taking action. So if you're sitting at home, reading things, watching things, but not doing anything about it, that's going to lead to a helpless feeling, feeling as though there's nothing that can be done. So what I do, I think is a small action. I am continuing to look for bigger ways to make an impact, but I feel good knowing that I've made a difference, and that helps me feel more hopeful.
I think that's an important point. So many of us feel paralyzed because of everything negative that we see every day with attacks coming to the environmental regulations and new laws coming out, funding being taken away from a lot of environmental issues, that the best way to feel a little bit better about it is to get active and not sit at home and stew over it. Is there anything else
Absolutely.
that you all think of that you wish more people understood about the local impacts that can be had with working towards climate, well, not working towards climate change, but working to prevent climate change?
Yeah, I'll start. I think we're lucky to live in a state where so many people are concerned about climate change, and we have a good starting point where our state has established goals, and many of our communities are thinking about it. But now we're at the point where like rapid implementation is really important, and everyone can play a role, either, at home, in your community, at the state level, in making sure and holding our leaders accountable to meeting those goals. And those, if we want to drive down greenhouse gas emissions, we need to not build more things that use fossil fuels and really transition away from them. And so that's in Connecticut, the biggest sources of emissions are electricity generation, transportation, and how we heat our homes and buildings.
Mm.
And so, if your school is putting on a new roof, advocating for solar to go on that roof once the new roof goes on. You know, just look around you and see what could be changed and start to work with your friends, your neighbors, your local elected officials, or your state elected officials, because we really can make a difference. And I see it every day happening in communities where our members show up and um, at the town council meeting or a committee meeting of their municipality, asking for a change, and they're persistent and they keep showing up, and they are able to succeed. And so I think everyone can do it, and I encourage folks to look for those opportunities.
So, Dennis, is there somewhere that inspired viewers from this can go to actually sponsor your ride?
So I'll send you the link after this call, and hopefully can post that to make it easy for people to click on. But alternatively, you could go on to Google, search Dennis Demarais, Desmarais, 2026 Climate Ride, and I'm the only one you'll find. So that's the easiest way to find me.
So, if anyone who's listening to this has been inspired by Dennis's amazing climate ride, you can support his ride at the link that I will post into the comments in here, because his work supports the local things that we're doing to either mitigate climate change or to be able to adapt to the effects that we're experiencing. But also, if anyone else out there has a climate story of their own that they want to tell, put those in the comments. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll do a story about you. So this is Scott Redfern with Clearing the Air, where climate truth meets everyday action. And until the next time, breathe easy and act boldly. Thanks, Dennis and Sam, for sharing this incredible story.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Scott.
Dennis, maybe this fall, after you've completed this ride, we'll circle back and we'll talk about how it went.
I look forward to it.